Okay then guys, welcome back. Today we are going to be talking about Hedera Hashgraph and the HBAR token. And despite the market action that we've seen today, largely over DeepSeek and its announcement and some of the announcements out of China disrupting the order of the stock market, we know that AI is a very big industry. Nvidia is really a key component of AI. And there's been a challenger to it. You know, Nvidia makes up 6+% of the S&P 500. Ultimately, when the largest stock in the world sells off due to news, there's ramifications more broadly for the markets. But despite all of this, I still think now is the time to be long and strong in the cryptocurrency space, and certainly Hedera. Now, before I go on, because we're talking about price, do not take this as financial advice. If you do so, it's at your own peril. We're not offering financial advice here. We're offering an opinion from a technical analyst on where Hedera is and the kind of beautiful nature of it. So one reason we can be so calm in what seems like a storm is because we have a great understanding of how charts move. And we're going to be reiterating that to start the video off and taking a nice big overview of Hedera Hashgraph, where it's currently at and where I believe it's heading. And I think we've seen some great signs in regards to this kind of move that we saw in December for Hedera and many of the altcoins, really initiating what's to come, which is a broader uptrend. And I'm going to be showing you that in this video. So to start off, let me reintroduce how I like to look at the markets when it comes to investing. It is essentially a continuation of what Stan Weinstein taught with his stage analysis, what Dow taught, and what Wyckoff taught with his market cycles. Most people only look at accumulation and distribution, but there's kind of four phases or four distinct features of a market. And these will rinse and repeat historically. That's been the case, and to present day, that is still the case. And we continue to spot, certainly the stock market, which we'll look at, it continues to rinse and repeat these patterns. And if we apply those principles and methods to Hedera, you'll see that it's actually in a very good position. And I'm certainly holding, having accumulated lower, but actually still picking some up here and there through various means for what I believe is to come. And I think that's this really broad uptrend, or phase two, as we like to look at it. So we break the markets down into four phases. Phase one is your accumulative phase. Phase two is your uptrend. Phase three is your topping phase. And phase four, is your downtrend. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep this schematic up, and we're going to go over to the Hedera chart. And we're going to use Binance for this one. I know you guys know that I like to use the KuCoin chart, but we're actually going to plot Hedera's four phases on. Then I'm going to show you many, many examples, or in fact, we're going to do that first. So just to confirm that markets do move in four phases, this was certainly something I was looking at with my Patrons in phase one. And since then, you've had your all your full phases essentially rinse and repeat. And what I'm going to suggest to you in this video is that Hedera has this kind of phase two ahead of it. It won't be long before we're at all-time highs, and then we push above and beyond. So this is the New York Times Company. And you can see very distinctly we have four phases. We have a topping phase, a downtrending phase, a basing phase, or an accumulative phase, and then an uptrend. Hedera has just broken out of phase one, ladies and gentlemen. That becomes apparent when we dive over to the Hedera chart. If we look at Spotify, actually this was one that was called out by me and my Patrons. You know, you can see phase one, phase two, phase three, into phase four, back to phase one, and then phase two. Why do markets repeat in this fashion? Well, it's because they're driven by human beings, and human beings often love to make these same mistakes. And if you think more broadly about trends, think about fashion and how things come full circle. You know, Uggs are all the rage. I struggle to get some, certainly here in the UK, not for myself. For family members, I struggle to get a certain kind of Ugg because they're very trendy, and they kind of were at one point a while ago, and now they've came back around. Perhaps they've always been a thing, or very popular if you, of course, you live in Australia. But you know, things like that. You know, if you think about trends, they come back around, and markets are very, very similar. So Spotify, another great example of kind of phase analysis playing out, and really broadly how markets play out. And you know, many of you will be familiar with the Wall Street cheat sheet. It's very much based on this kind of wave-like theory that markets move in, and we can prove it time and time again. This is Synchrony Financial, phase three, phase four, back into phase one, which is accumulation, then a breakout into phase two, and that uptrend continues. This, of course, is Vanex Semiconductors. Hit rather hard today, but I still think this has got higher targets for us on the back end of, obviously, DeepSeek. We addressed that at the start of the video. And you can see the idea is that US sort of AI enablers are overvalued, and actually they're going to be undercut massively. And once that formula is proven, there's this kind of AI bubble that will implode. I'm not quite convinced that's the case. A lot of things don't add up with DeepSeek, in my opinion. Anyway, we're not focusing on that. We're focusing on how markets move and relating that to Hedera Hashgraph. So again, we can see phase 3, phase 4, phase 1, and then break out into phase 2. This was the point in which you broke out, and then this uptrend ensues. Palantir was a recent one for us. I know we've got quite a few patrons that are a fan of this. Of course, this is Peter Thiel's surveillance technology. Remember, it's all for your own good. Phase 3, phase 4, into phase 1, which is your cumulative phase. Breakout on volume, always nice to see. Bit of consolidation before continuation in to phase 2. And pay attention to this breakout, because this is where Hedera is today, and it's got phase 2 ahead of it. And then, of course, it's a HubSpot a little bit further behind, but very much compliant with how markets move. And I can show you literally hundreds of examples of markets moving in this manner, because that's how they do move. And if you can understand that and do become a Patreon, also, we've just launched a new platform. If you take out the yearly subscription, you'll not only save on the monthly, but you'll get the entire, all our courses and all future courses to come. Very handy if you are interested in technical analysis. If not, don't worry. But when we apply this to Hedera, we're going to dive over to the Hedera chart now. You can see what it is we're looking at. So this would have been a phase 1 period. I apologize, guys. This would have been phase 1 for Hedera. This would have been its phase 2. This would have been a very rangy, toppy phase 3. And you can see at which point you broke out of this. Now, this is also the point in which your double bottom has formed. And then this, of course, is your phase 4. And then you entered down here, phase 1, accumulation. And just recently, towards the back end of November, we have now broke out and embarked on phase 2, in my opinion. Now, not only do we believe that through understanding markets and how they move, we also have a technical target, which is in the form of a double bottom, that ultimately we have a target for Hedera of 92 cents on the back end off. We'll tackle the small time frames in just a second. So I believe this is not only been signaled by volume, but this is likely going to lead to continuation. And Hedera has got this long, broad phase 2 ahead of it. Don't worry, guys, we will do a video on how we get our $2.26 price prediction. I will be releasing that at some point, but that's sort of further confluence of the fact that we're in phase 2. And remember what phase 2 looks like. After phase 1, you break out and then you embark on this broad uptrend. And they all look slightly different, but the DNA is still there, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the path ahead that Hedera has. So it's always good on days like this when the market's just selling off to perhaps offer some reassurance into my own personal opinion technically on what Hedera Hashgraph is doing and what's to come. Because there's a lot of YouTubers out there and content creators when it comes to the crypto space that are fair weathered. They'll flip, flop, and I ultimately don't believe they make any money in this market. And not only do I have a proven track record, today we're in a sensational position. I think in the top 70% of my portfolio, my smallest gainer, despite this pullback, is 200+% up. Highest gainer would, of course, probably be XRP, which I think a couple of days ago was about 450% up. Now, that's an insane return given how long we've been reinvesting in the markets for. We really outperformed, and we can offer that opportunity to you guys. Remember, do check the Patreon. So when we look at Hedera, we think it's very much on track to do great things. It's got this phase 2 ahead of it. We've also got this sort of double bottom, which I'll highlight for you guys because it might not be apparent. That's your left butt cheek, your right butt cheek. And now that's going to give you that sort of $92 price prediction. And if we drop to the smaller time frames, really, and even today, I still believe that this is a continuation pattern that in the shorter term is going to take you to 59 cents. And then, of course, potentially 78 cents, and then to that double bottom target of 82 cents. And we didn't just look at Hedera through the lens of, I think this is just a breakout of a grind line or a capping resistance line, and then a retest before you spring off and see that continuation in line with the broader trend that you are now in, the broader phase being phase 2. And we didn't just look at Hedera versus the US dollar chart to be bullish on it. We looked at HBAR versus BTC. And we said this was going to make a great move against Bitcoin. Now, since then, it's done that. It's came back. It's retesting. But there's ultimately, just like you did over here, guys, higher targets for Hedera to gain ground against Bitcoin ahead of it. Also, one swallow does not a summer make. When we look at HBAR dominance, we're seeing a very similar thing. And again, this is a retest ready to bounce off. And if we go to a daily now, because I think it's only going to give me the daily chart. If we look at HBAR ETH, we've also got some very sort of bullish short-term price action. And you can see we're actually holding our ground against Ethereum, which I do not think is going to do particularly well this cycle. So, to conclude the video, my technical assessment of Hedera Hashgraph is a bullish one. If you understand how markets move, and we can help you to understand that, they move in 4 phases, 4 distinct phases: accumulation, an uptrend or a markup, distribution, a top, and a downtrend. Hedera has just gone from an accumulative phase into a uptrending phase, phase 2, and we've shown you plenty of examples of what phase 2 looks like, and that gives us every reason to expect, because markets play out in this fashion, continuation in what has now been established with this recent move. Also on the smaller timeframes, we have technical confluence, not just in regards to Hedera continuing to climb against the US dollar and go up in price, but also in regards to Hedera versus the Hedera versus Bitcoin, Hedera dominance, and Hedera ETH. So technically, it's my opinion that Hedera is in a great spot and it's going to do very well. I want to know your thoughts in the comment section. It's always good on days like this when we're selling off to put our best foot forwards. That's it from me, guys. I'll see you all in the next one.